And we're back like those dinosaurs, folks. We've got North America out of the way. Our last match of the entire spring split. It's going to be leftovers, because that's all we got left, versus Panthera. This one should be fun to watch.
You know what's scarier than an arachne ganking you in the jungle and smite?
Scary D?
An actual spider that ganks you at the caster desk?
So, in the middle of game, if you go watch the VOD after hearing the story, you can probably find it. I'm in the middle of casting play-by-play, and this giant spider, I'm talking like this big, right? This big comes up, and it's just crawling. I'm looking at the screen, and then all of a sudden I see a spider. I jump up, and I try to get rid of it. So then Totally pulls the funniest joke in the world, according to him. I'm sitting down, I'm getting ready, and, production's like, all right, 20 seconds to it live. I'm making sure I got all my notes. And then Totally just says,
I'm like, is it bag? Is that it right there? And then he just freaks out right there.
I completely bugged out. I almost knocked over my water that I got over here. That would have been terrible. I would have blamed Totally. But we're not going to do that. Instead, there is no bug. There is no nonsense. There is just Europe. Panthera versus Leftovers. Panthera guaranteed to go to DreamHack. Leftovers guaranteed to not go to DreamHack. But we're going to get into the game anyway. Picks and bans coming your way. The first pick and the first ban will go the way of Leftovers. They will play from the order side.
More than likely, what Leftovers tends to do is they like to lean on their jungle mid synergy, whether they try to find the Naja Scylla combination, or usually it's going to be the Naja or the Fenrir Scylla combination for Leftovers. Jungler going to go back to the jungle position since their last match. No more shenanigans, calling jungler from the mid lane.
It's actually really funny. Leftovers have always been about their mid-jungle synergy. Whether it's Cherryo in the jungle and jungler in the mid, or it's Cherryo in the mid and jungler in the jungle, it's still all about that synergy. And Leftovers, I spoke at length about them on my show this Sunday, and I went in depth, and I won't go in depth here. But basically what I think about Leftovers is that they had a lot of potential coming into this season, and I think that the players on this team are in a unfortunate spot. I look at people like Nika, I look at people like Fails, jungler, and I look at people like Cherryo, and I see so much potential, and I saw that in week 1 and week 2. And then as the season went on, they picked AMC.
They picked the Muzen Cobb right now. They went from Arachne to bees. So there's no spiders, but there are bees. Now, going off of what you were mentioning about the not meeting expectations from Leftovers,
right?
When you are facing Panthera in week 1 like they did, that could be very demoralizing coming off that loss against Panthera. Emilitoo just went off on them completely that set.
I mean, with that said, they did see some victories in week number 2. Week number 3, I think, was the stark moment where you saw 4, 5, and 6 just sort of falter away. But as I said, these players, if you're out there, if you're a Challenger Cup team, or even if you're making plans for the fall split, keep these players in mind, because I don't think this was a problem with the team entirely. I think it was just sort of came from whether it was just these individuals together, it was the culture or whatnot, but specifically, I still see Jungler, Cherryo, and Nika as all very positive players. Even Arkkyl, honestly. There's been a lot of positive stuff coming out of Leftovers, but their season left a little to be desired. Their draft does as well. They have Batz, who's fantastic, Scylla, who's fantastic, and a Muzen Cobb, who's anything but.
We're going to see how Arkkyl makes the debut of a Muzen Cobb. This is the first time in this split that a Muzen Cobb is going to be played, and immediately Panthera trying to find a strategy where they pinpoint him against the wall. They have the Thor Tectonic Rift, they have the Cabrakan ultimate as well, putting them in a good spot for the Ra to follow up of that as well.
Also the Ra choice, not exactly taking it away from Cherryo, but certainly just adding insult to injury. The Kumbhakarna will be banned out, so Leftovers taking a look specifically at iRaffer. Panthera goes ban out the Odin.
Which is a good ban if you're going to pick up the Ra right now, obviously not having an escape. You could elect to go Spectral Armor and use a Relic to try to go through that, but that double wombo combo kind of hurts your damage in the mid to late game, so it's better to just ban out the Odin and not have to build around that.
Absolutely. I think a couple of other healers, Guan Yu most notably, can deal with the Odin cage, right? Guan Yu tends to build tanky, so he's just going to deal with the nonsense. Ra's a character that really relies on his heal to stay alive, his heal and his passive, which is movement speed. Odin is, it's the antithesis of Ra. Odin is the rock to Ra's scissors.
especially when Guan Yu uses his Talu Assault. You're gaining protections as well. You're dealing a lot of damage in return. Ra does have mobility with his passive, but ever since the protections, the buff and the debuff protections from the Ra's heal was taken away a long time ago, it's a lot more difficult to survive without the heal coming out.
With Odin banned, I love this choice out of Nika, going the Osiris. Now, Osiris is kind of just picked anyway, anytime you really want to see him. But Osiris specifically against this Ra here, going to be an excellent choice as he's going to neutralize some of the healing, jump right on top of him, and Bacchus is going to look to do the exact same thing. Leftovers looking for a lot of burst, not just out of the Bacchus, but also the Scylla, and also, of note, a Muzen brings a large amount of burst by way of the Stinger B combination.
And with the damage over time from a Muzen, we might see a Brawler's Beast coming out of him. Having the penetration and the anti-healing, that would be good enough to make sure that any sustain that Ra decides to put out, wherever it will be, is going to be denied. And last pick for Panthera is going to be Amaterasu for Dimi.
And that's going to be troublesome for Leftovers because last match we were talking about denial, and Benji selected Amaterasu. And I said he was one of the best Amaterasus in the world, and I didn't commit to calling him the best Amaterasu in the world because Dimi also has a fantastic Amaterasu, and Panthera's going to switch things up a little bit. And actually, I like this. I think this is fun. We're going to see Dimi in the mid lane on the Ra. Adapting, we'll be playing Hunter next to iRaffer, who's going to be playing support Cabrakan. Emilitoo, the Hunter player, will be transitioning into the jungle on Thor. And all that good stuff that I mentioned about Ninja Dimi playing on the Amaterasu. Who cares? Because Yammyn's playing the Amaterasu.
I like this mix and matching that Panthera does right now. This match doesn't really matter in terms of the standings for either team necessarily. So this doesn't reveal any cards coming out of Panthera, coming out of the #1 seed. Everybody's looking at you. I'm #1. Oh my god, everybody's below me. They're looking at us. They're going to try to find our weaknesses and loopholes. We're not going to give them anything in this set.
And I know everybody's going to say he's just saying that because it's Panthera and this, that, or a third. But I promise you, I actually feel this way, regardless of the team. I love to see teams play around with their role swaps, specifically in a position now where nothing means anything, because playing different positions in a high caliber setting opens your eyes to what your other teammates have to deal with, right? Dimi's used to playing in the solo lane. Now he knows why Yammyn's going to complain about those rotations all day, because he's Ra in the mid lane. Switching up these roles, some people are going to call it a troll. I think it's a fantastic team building experience.
We always say, put yourselves in my shoes, and that's exactly what Panthera is doing right now. They're basically they're having the similar mindsets whenever they play together in team fights, but now they're going to actually experience the laning phase as well, so they know when the laning phase is going to be weak or when it's going to be strong.
Yeah, exactly. This is a fantastic tool and one of the better tools that you can use towards the end of the season. When these games mean less and less, it's very easy to just say, well, I guess we'll just pick an Muzen cob. But different approach is Panthera. Badgah getting very low. A couple of basics will turn him into dust, but adapting. Honestly, he didn't miss many. It was just Badgah getting out of jail.
It was Arkkyl doing a good job body blocking that last in-hand that would have surely found the kill on top of Badger so far. So Panthera not able to find the first blood in the duel, and good job by Arkkyl.
The last time we saw the Muzen cob in competition was Reels last year. Wasn't even in the split, in our current split. It was last year. Reels on Fnatic was playing AMC, and he even bought Blink. He was just looking to be hyper-aggressive, trying to find those Blink Stinger combos. Will we see the Blink out of AMC this time around with the relic system? I doubt it, but again, AMC is known for his basic attacks, but Arkkyl definitely going to be looking for a lot of burst coming out of the Stinger Bees combo.
Normally, when you have a god that doesn't have an escape and you're trying to go Blink, you need to find a way to disengage from it. Normally, when we see Artemises with Blink, there's usually a Giannis in the mid lane to bail them out. In this game specifically, there is no Giannis, it is a Scylla. Unless Leftovers is going to commit all in to a specific strategy, then it would be a good idea for Arkkyl to pick up the Blink.
Panthera right now going to commit onto Badgah, but the knockup's good enough, and iRaffer will be forced back. So everybody on Panthera, this honestly seems like something barked down from iRaffer from above, rather than something to just have fun with. Like I said, we mentioned how this is actually a useful tool. Seeing iRaffer stick in the support position instead of transitioning to jungle, his old position, this kind of tells me that Coach iRaffer is doing some real stuff.
I mean, every now and then it's a nice little refresher for your team as well. You're not always playing the same role. You're not always playing the same god. You're mixing things up, keeping things fresh. So that way, when you do go back to your old role, your old god in that position, you're like, okay, I know some more things about these specific lanes. Like, this is what I can take advantage of now.
we've seen some players lose sight of the game because they've just played the same position or played the same god over and over again. I mean, in solo lane, it's it's a story of Tyr, Osiris, Bologna. That's got to get a little troublesome sometimes. So, like I said, we saw Snoopy last year just sort of get tired of the hunter role. Doesn't want to do it anymore. Hasn't been able to find success since. Now I think he's a little bit more willing to go back to hunter. But that's actually another interesting thing coming up with the fall split. As the split comes to a close, so do the roster locks for a lot of individuals. I imagine Panthera is going to stay exactly the same, Anatoly, but I don't think so much for the leftovers. Thor's in the air. He's going to find jungler, but he'll jump over it.
Beautiful
Where do you expect
jump
to see some of these European teams come next split?
I mean, we saw some Twitter posts being made, I think it was from emilitoo specifically, where he announced, I believe, that Axios wasn't going to be returning with them for the next split, but they are going to stick with the other 4 members. Now the question is, who is going to be that solo laner for emilitoo and the rest of his squad? I just don't know right now. There's just so many options coming. There's, new and up-and-coming players coming out of a rank specifically, and that's exactly what Pain Beyond did in between the splits. He found Marauder, he found Variziel, and the Panic Cat has been around the block as well for a long time. So it's all about, the ability to find the talent for you and your team.
And so, some teams are, like I said, just Pain's much better at that than some of the other players. You saw a little bit of flash in the pan of that from Badgah this beginning of the season. Like I said, it didn't really turn out, but I think he found some real diamonds in the rough. Nika and Arkkyl have definitely exceeded expectations. I don't think a lot of people kind of knew Nika in that European ranked scene. Arkkyl as well, but a little bit less so. And Cherryo and Jungler have sort of been sitting on the outskirts of competition. So Badgah did a little bit of that this season as well. And that's what I'm most excited for, because I mean, the enemy story was my favorite story this split until Hunger for More went off. With Hunger for More going crazy, I mean, that's insane. How often do you see a bottom tier team wind up going to the first land, not even waiting a split?
We're going to see Thor actually going to miss the dunk. However, the damage returning Arkkyl is going to take a lot of return damage. Cripple on top of emilitoo. This could be first blood.
And it will. Looked like it was going to go the way AMC, but adapting turns it around. Adapting on the Apollo this time around, on Thor.
It's good body blocking by adapting this time around.
Yep.
Going back to that whole enemy situation that you were talking about, like finding a diamond in the rough, it's a two-way street. Obviously, you have to find the players, but the players have to be noticed at the same time. So you guys have to kind of figure out a meeting grounds, and usually that's going to be ranked.
So yeah, I get that question all the time, Toli. Once a week I do Q&A on First Period, and every single time somebody asks, how do I get involved in the pro scene? It can't be as simple as just play ranked real good and somebody will call you up. What else can you do to really make yourself known?
I mean, if you really wanted to and you have really good clips from playing ranked and making really good plays against notable players, you could make that kind of Halo Call of Duty montage, which is a real serious thing because that's one way to get noticed. The community is very involved, whether it's on Reddit specifically. You can find videos there of people playing, whether it's a joke with like specific videos that are kind of funny, whether they're playing Clash or whatever. But there's also serious ones of, like, hey, look at this good play I did in ranked.
I mean, Marvel's played an SPL game this year, and Marvel's is a ROM trick shotter on YouTube, right? So, I mean, that wasn't the biggest opportunity for him. It was an interesting look because now teams are aware of him, right? And, maybe if he has some extra things to show off, he has that opportunity. So certainly go in the way of content creation. Definitely not a bad look if you're out there trying to get noticed by some of these teams because this split goes to DreamHack, of course. We're going to have a brief reprieve in the summertime as we watch the mid laner get smoked out. Dimi going to take his first spill, the first kill for leftovers. And then, of course, next split will go directly into Worlds. So big paycheck for those that wind up on a team. emilitoo looking for a paycheck of his own. Caught behind the Cabrakan nonsense. Going to fight his way through. Jungler winds up with a kill onto iRaffer. And it looks like Panthera's in a little bit of trouble. Adapting picks up Cherryo on the backside, but emilitoo, no place for him to go. The knockup's good, and Badgah answers 2 calls with a 3rd kill.
And now Yammyn's going to make the rotation as well. Purification being used by Arkkyl, and the mobility is not enough to make sure that he survives. Yammyn credited with the kill, and it's looking like an interesting matchup right now between these two teams. Very even right now, currently 3-3. Gold barely in the lead of leftovers right now.
Yeah, leftovers are playing well. They're playing well. Looks like somebody pissed them off a little bit. Panthera, they're adjusting to their positions.
They're trying to say They're trying to prove their haters wrong, basically, is leftovers. Make their last stand.
Pretty much want to end the season on a good note, and that's also very important for the team and their individuals, right? Instead of looking back at the season and go, man, that was terrible, you can look back and say, hey, we had a rough time, but we beat the last game we played, we beat Panthera, right? So leftovers certainly looking for that surprise W. Nika getting aggressed on, throws out the tether, and emilitoo walks in the other direction.
Having his ethereal form online is going to be a huge damage mitigation as well as the mobility increase for Nika, so he wasn't too worried as well from that gank.
emilitoo ganking solo lane for Yammyn. What a game. There's the ultimate out of jungler. He's going to bring iRaffer down to half HP already, looking for the hit. Cherryo's going to find it, and jungler cleans it all up. 4 kills in total for leftovers, and they quickly find themselves with a very minuscule lead, and emilitoo answers back to make things even up.
And now with that, both ultimates were used on the solo lane side of things, so they're going to have to disengage as jungler comes around the corner. Not able to find the return kills, but does clean up a little bit of the wave that's there that was going to be negated by the tower.
Right, Harpies go the way of leftovers as well. Left Harpies have been down for a little while, so off sync, excuse me, are these 2 mid Harpies. Left side, let's take a look at the Hunter duel here. We've got Apollo versus the AMC. Everybody's just taunting everybody, apparently. Arkkyl versus the Apollo, man. So this AMC, actually one of my favorite gods in the game. What does he bring to the lane besides wave clear?
He's a very... Oh, Cherryo getting hit by that searing pain and the double tap from emilitoo. Nowhere for him to go. Going back on the Hunter, though, in the 1v1 position, the Muzen comp does a lot of damage just like that off of one ability. 25% off the table for adapting. Despite being 2 levels ahead, adapting taking a lot of damage. If he wants to sustain in this laning phase, he's going to have to finish off his Aussie and then look for some boxing potential.
Arkkyl, with help of the hives, is really... It just brings his attack speed up very quickly. 1.21 already on that attack speed.
And there's a lot of interesting mechanics that both of these players could do with their gods, as we're going to see another gank on top of Nika.
Beautiful wall. Beautiful wall, forcing Nika into the ultimate. Nika didn't need that ultimate to escape unless there was something specifically blocking his path. And this time it's going to be emilitoo's entire body. Can't find the double tap, but he'll find it with the basic. 6 kills in total for Panthera. And the aggression on the left-hand side is dissuaded as Cabrakan heads into the jungle.
Leftovers not able to find anything in return off of that kill. That took quite a while to pick off Nika. There was no counter rotation to save him, and there was no forcing of the Golf here on the left-hand side.
And with the kill of Nika, Panthera are able to just take the tier 1 tower. Really no conversation about it whatsoever, totally. Just 2 players walk up and basing it down at the 10-minute mark.
Taking a lot of damage right there as Dimi. Going to sustain a little bit up. Going to have to be careful. There's a lot of burst damage coming out of the Scylla, so Dimi going to have to respect that. Normally playing in the solo lane. Cherryo using his ultimate in the mid lane as Dimi falls to Badgah.
Surprise! Here comes the rest of Panthera. On the backside is Cherryo. No ultimate available, though, so that's going to be a big difference as to her implication in this team fight. Wonderful wall coming out from iRaffer, but it's not enough to stop the Sentinel. And there's the ultimate from the Monkey in the mid lane, separating Panthera from their target. Down from the sky comes Apollo, looking for a target. Lands right onto jungler. Jumping on top of iRaffer is Nika, so it's 2 dead on the side of Panthera. Make that 1 dead on the side of leftovers. There's Arkkyl killing it as emilitoo falls down, giving chases Yammyn against Nika and Arkkyl by himself. And it's just not enough. 1v3. Can't find the kills. Everything all even. 7-7. Adapting makes 8 for leftovers as Arkkyl surprises with the burst from the Muzen Cob and the Scylla.
Team fight going in the favor of leftovers so far. Able to find 4 targets and now putting pressure, a little bit of pressure onto that middle tower. Now going to disengage as Arkkyl, after killing Adapting, going to extend his lead right now, trying to steal away these boars on the left-hand side and then going to be able to push that wave.
Yeah, Arkyl's going to steal away the piggy bank real quick. Badgah's going to steal away a ward real quick as well. Leftovers now leading this game by 1,100 gold so far. 1 kill in the lead as well. Their experience, though, probably a little bit more to talk about.
Not a comfortable lead enough for them to force a Gold Fury right now. They could have probably grouped up to try to take that tier 1 tower. However, the speed buff was contested. Luckily, Yammyn was able to hold that onto for emilitoo, so he does pick that up as well. Blue buff going to get started for Panthera. Going to just basically reset. Vision control favoring both teams. Really nice distance covered between both of them around the Gold Fury.
So when you're playing on competitive teams, Toli, you know your position inside and out. I mean, if I ask you, There's a lot of stuff that doesn't make the broadcast because it's too minute about that solo lane that you can bring to light. How much do you know about the other positions, specifically looking at what Panthera is doing?
There's a lot of similarities between other positions. More importantly, the solo and hunter positions, despite being different, whether it's melee versus range, there's a lot of similarities, whether it's the farming aspect behind it or whether it's the boxing aspect behind it. You're still going to need to know those basic fundamentals of whether it's more important for me to farm in this situation or whether it's more important for me to take this fight.
That's why we saw Cyclone Spin switch over from the solo lane directly to the hunter rollover for Envy.
It's very, just like you mentioned, it's very similar in that regard. And going from jungle to solo is a little bit different because you're going to be more exposed to action and you're the facilitator earlier on. Whereas in the solo lane, you're normally transitioning as the facilitator in the mid to late game stages instead.
So you understand the general feel of the positions, but those small moves like the maybe proxy farming isn't very small these days anymore, but some of the smaller moves you do just to push your opponent out to pick up fire elementals in the set of the third, those might be lost in these position swaps.
In the hunter position, you could always bully the enemy out and take his boars, but it looks like Leftovers is going to bully out Panthera and try to sneak this Gold Fury.
And with Bacchus jumping on top, Panthera have no idea, and it looks like the Gold Fury goes directly to Leftovers. Beautifully executed by LFTO. They're going to sit up 2,000 gold.
And just like that, they're taking advantage of Panthera not just being in position, and the fact that they were able to do a little bit of damage allowed the Panthera to back in that position. And now an engaged by the Hunbats.
And there's going to be the route onto iRaffer. Big crush coming out, and Amaterasu looking for the ultimate as well. Down comes Thor, and down comes the damage from the Scylla. Not enough, but it's a 1-for-1 so far. Jungler's going to make that 2 in the direction of Leftovers. 4 players alive for LFTO. And Panthera, they've only got 3. emilitoo and iRaffer both take a spill. Nika's the only one to die for Leftovers, and Arkkyl never even joined the party, just going to take out the Tier 1 tower.
Adapting tried to rotate to that team fight. By the time he was hovering above the air, trying to land in, that team fight was already over. It was already in Leftovers' favor, trading 2 for 1. He decided otherwise, going for those left side mid-hubbies.
Wow.
Beautiful block.
Fantastic block by Jungler, going to jump right in front, and there's build-up time on both of that jump and the dash, so that was just a cold, hard read. Jungler had to jump before Amaterasu dashed. He had to know it was coming. Not only did he intercept it, and not only did he slow the target, but he intercepted the dash, and that winds up being a pick for Leftovers that only happens if Jungler jumps at that exact moment.
And that was a beautiful mind game versus mind game between Yammyn and Jungler there, because Yammyn was retreating under his wave. Despite Jungler not having much mana to actually secure the kill, he was baiting for the rest of his team to come over and secure the kill, despite not having any abilities of his own.
So if Panthera lose this game, do we see the same switch up in game number 2?
Depends how froggy they're feeling. If they're willing to leap.
Yeah? You gonna go for that one? Don't be a toad, Totally. Anna totally. I just made myself laugh really hard, guys. I'm sorry.
That was a good one.
I'm gonna call you that from now on.
Anatoly.
Oh, here's Cherryo. Open the ultimate. Gonna follow up on the monkey. Immune. Sanctuary. Too good. But the crush gonna take out all of emilitoo's HP. Not quite dead yet. Just. And here comes Jungler off the backside. Arkkyl finds the kill onto emilitoo. Finally. After Scylla does 90% of his HP in 2 abilities very quickly, coming out with the burst, and Cherryo gets out alive as well. So Leftovers going to start the siege. It's 4-on-3 here in the mid lane. Ultimate's not quite available except for Amaterasu, who finds 2 stunned. Jump over the wall is going to be Jungler. Now Nika, Badgah, and Arkkyl in some trouble. Adapting taken to the sky, but Arkkyl takes out iRaffer. Everybody takes out the Tier 1 tower, and Adapting does not want to re-engage. 4 players here for Leftovers, looking pretty, looking strong. Feeling cute. They've got 4K above their opponents.
And with that Tier 1 tower gone right now, it's looking very good for Leftovers. Able to find 2 towers off the map already. Gold Fury's down as well, extending their lead a little bit to about 4,000 gold. Arkkyl wants to play aggressive right now. This is the position where your Hives gives you so much attack speed right now that you're just able to win these trades very efficiently. Also having a little bit of HP regen as well as the Itchable online for Arkkyl is going to allow him to win these exchanges.
Yeah, look at that. He goes from 1.2 attack speed all the way up to 2.19 with the assistance of that Hive. You'll get to see it if he walks out. See, as soon as he walks out of there, 1.72 attack speed, and then when he walks back into the range, he goes all the way up above 2. So a lot of attack speed given to you thanks to those Hives.
And now leftovers are going to try to find a way to extend their advantage, trying to find somebody around the corner. Unfortunately for Cherryo, just off the mark was their route. Badgah wasn't quite there to find the belly flop to set up the route in the first place.
Looking for the belly hop. Anatodly.
He's trying to find a leap. He's trying to go from pedal to pedal and finding leapfrogging to... He's trying to cross the street as well, you know, making sure that he doesn't get run over.
Oh, man.
That's a rough life, man.
Oh, you just... I respect what you just did. You obliterated the joke, so I can't call you Anatodly anymore. I love it. Very well executed by the X-Soloator. Very well done.
Hashtag mind games.
Aggression again. Arkkyl just always staying in the enemy jungle. Not really afraid of anything Panthera can give to them at all. Is leftovers.
And with Golfier respawning right now, leftovers a little bit of a lead, so they want to find the counter warding opportunity that Panthera are going to look for and then find somebody out of position, no matter who it is. Even if it's going to be the support in this position, leftovers are in a good enough spot that they could burst that one player down fast enough before the rest of his team can respond.
iRaffer is aware that the enemy's thinking about Cold Fury. He knows it's spawning in a moment. Here it comes. Cold Fury not very quiet when it lands on down. Nika going to be aggressed on by the jungler, but that's a stark difference in levels, 16 to 15. iRaffer's in some trouble as well. Leftover's going to push up in the enemy jungle. Down comes Thor, and it'll separate the two teams, and locked in. iRaffer makes sure to drop the hammer. The ultimate comes out from Cabrakan, but it's just not enough. On the other hand, Yammyn stuns out too, but Panthera on a different page, unable to follow up, and there's the ultimate on a jungler. This one looks good for leftovers. Adapting picks up one on Badgah. There's going to be a lot more damage coming where that came from, but Arkkyl answers back, 1 for 1 thus far. 4 players still alive. Cherryo takes out 1. Dimi takes out 1. It's a 3-on-3, but that is a low Ra, and it's a 2-on-3. Leftovers come up on the top side of that one, finding 3 kills. 4 kills. No, 3 kills. To their 2 deaths.
Nika found a beautiful triple ultimate on Lord of the Afterlife, just doing so much damage, finding the rune onto 3 members from Panthera under that tier 2 tower, allowed the Scylla to find a lot of follow-up damage to be able to secure the fight for leftovers. And now with that, they're going to be able to secure this Gold Fury as well for the second time uncontested.
Excellent play coming out from leftovers today. 6,000 gold in the lead before 20 minutes. Panthera getting cute, switching up their positions a little bit. I like the exercise, but it's definitely going to make things a little bit harder for them to find a victory here in this game versus leftovers.
And right now, like you mentioned before, they're in a position where not finding the win doesn't really matter in terms of seedings. It's not to say that they don't necessarily really care about winning, because when you're an SPL player, you are very competitive at the end of the day. But you know, you want to still be able to, like we mentioned earlier on, just still kind of hide some strategies as well.
Exactly. Panthera don't want to put everything out there just in case their opponents at DreamHack are watching, because they certainly are. I like that we pointed out the Soul Reaver on the Bacchus. Badgah certainly just wants to help delete players, and when you're a little bit ahead on the Bacchus, I mean, damage is certainly a large part of what makes Bacchus Bacchus.
A lot of penetration as well. Having the Void Stone as well as the Shoes of the Magi onto Badgah is going to be doing a lot of damage. Also having the Drunkometer online as high as it can go is going to give him extra magical power as well.
I mean, this is basically Warrior Bacchus, for lack of a better term. He's going to find the knock-up and obliterate Dimi. There's the Soul Weaver plus a Scylla plus a whatever the hell else came out from the leftovers. 7 kills above the #1 seeded Panthera. Leftovers making their case.
Crush wasn't even needed to find the kill on top of Dimi right now. Warlock Sash is online for Dimi, but not at 100 stacks currently, so not having the health pool to survive currently.
There's a 3-on-1. This Panthera Soul in some trouble. You see the crits coming out and everything else coming out. Yammyn going to try and ult away. Finds a dash. Slowed down, not going to work out, but there's a second slow, and there's a second hit, and Jungler winds up with his 5th kill of the contest.
In the meantime, Panthera trying to find the left side tier 2 tower. Meanwhile, Leftovers doesn't care. They're going to go straight to the Fire Giant. They're going to be able to get towers later. Let's go for the bigger objective currently.
iRaffer's here. Not going to be enough. Not even going to be close enough. iRaffer now being aggressed on. There's that big damage from the AMC. But a good wall separates iRaffer from the rest.
And with that Fire Giant being secured for Leftovers, now they're in a position where they can easily siege all these remaining towers for Panthera. But first, they're going to go ahead and back and spend their old gold and then look for a big old 5-man grouping.
So Panthera now on the back foot for one of the first times all season. 8,000 gold deficit for them versus leftovers. They now switched around their positions a little bit. Where do they go from here?
Panthera?
Yep.
Right now, they're in a position where obviously they're going to have to defend against the Fire Giant, but being down this much right now is going to be proved to be a little difficult. They do have the Cabrakan to maybe find a nice and quick pick on somebody that overextends just a little bit too much, but the disengage from Panthera has to be really on point. They have the sprint from Yammyn as well as the mobility from his aura. So as long as Yammyn stays alive in these teamfights, then the rest of Panthera should be able to disengage.
You know, it's interesting. You can reckon, you think maybe Panthera go ahead, they switch up their roles, knowing that they won't be as strong as they are, so they can practice playing from behind. They haven't had that opportunity much, Toli.
It's not a bad idea, actually. As Thor is going to go into the air, not able to find anybody quite yet.
He's going to land on one, and Dimi combines, taking out Badgah right quick. Nika's going to be stunned out, but nobody from Panthera want to bite. They know that Scylla's waiting in the lane, and Arkyl's a couple of steps behind as well. So not going to be in the cards for Panthera, but they certainly find that pick, and that's a look in the right direction because Bacchus has been a threat. And here's the aggression onto the team fight. iRaffer very low. Cherryo looking for the kill. Waits for the stun. Comes up a little bit late, so Jungler takes the kill, and we don't see the reset. Cherryo now suffering on the backside, going to be chased out by Yammyn. On the right-hand side, we've got Jungler chasing out emilitoo by himself. And Arkkyl going to do the work against adapting. Jumping forward is Nika. Misses the sickle, but Yammyn still dodging, weaving, ducking, and dying. He's going to fall to the hand of the Nika. Yammyn going to fall down. Badgah the only one dead. Cherryo's going to join him as emilitoo puts him in the ground, but Arkkyl answers right on back. 3 dead for Panthera. It's just Dimi and adapting is just going to land on the backhand, not going to find a kill, and the tier 2 tower falls.
Dimi is going to fall as well right now. 4 members from Panthera have fallen so far. 3 remain standing for leftovers. This should also be a left side Phoenix right now as Nika is going to tank, and Arkkyl is going to be doing a lot of damage to this Phoenix with his attack speed.
Yeah, when it comes to AMC, I mean, he's one of the most adept characters at killing these towers. Just building into the Titan's Bane now, but already has rank 2 of it online, so a ton of penetration online already for Arkkyl on the AMC. 6-2-9 on the first pick, Amusing Crab. Never thought I'd say that one, Anatoly, but he's crushing it. It's the first pick, and now he's speedy.
And it's been executed against Panthera. Granted, they have been switching up roles, but they are very good, talented, experienced players regardless. They know how to play the game that we know and love called Smite, and just good execution right now out of leftovers, taking advantage of Panthera.
Yeah, it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. I think a lot of people are going to go home and write on their Reddit or in their live journals tonight that Panthera, if they go ahead and lose this game, because I think leftovers is certainly in the driver's seat, sitting over 10,000 gold in the lead. I think you go ahead and you say, hey man, Panthera messed up today, and leftovers were given a win.
You know why they're going to be mad, right?
Why?
Fantasy
FP.
points. FP. Everyone probably voted Panthera 2-0. I did too. I'm not gonna lie, but
leftovers here, they've actually been performing. In addition to Panthera being in different positions, leftovers has actually just been performing well, which is exciting to see.
Mechanically, they've been doing some really good things. Arkkyl body blocking for Badgah at the beginning of the laning phase, making sure that Badgah wasn't the first blood victim was very important for the way leftovers were starting off the game.
And especially if Badgah wanted to continue in the direction that he has continued in, 2 levels above his direct opposition as far as the support's concerned, but more importantly, the build path is what I'm looking at. You've got the Boots of the Magi, the Void Stone, the Soul Reaver. That's aggro, right? So Bacchus is certainly wanting to be a big part of what leftovers can bring, and he's certainly doing that.
And that's something that leftovers are just executing pretty efficiently because it's very easy for them to go over-aggressive, but at the same time, they know when to peel it back as well. Because of the fact that Bacchus is not as tanky, they know they have to be very careful about how they initiate these team fights.
Arkkyl just going to go ahead and help clear the wave with Cherryo real quick. Level 20 on both hunters. Everybody basically about 20 on the side of the leftovers. Sans the support. Different story for Panthera. You see a couple of players trailing behind just a little bit. This Fire Giant's going to be free. Just too much damage coming out from the guys on leftovers for Panthera to make it here in time. So all 5 players, totally, they've got the Fire Giant around their waists. They're going to head over to the right-hand side looking for the Phoenix, a fight, or both.
And Panthera not in a position to defend right now as they're all trying to back to the base right now. Should be able to get there in time. However, it looks like no, they're just going to disengage leftovers.
Don't want to go too hard. They know Panthera's going to jump on in. It's exactly what we see as the Ra places the heal aggressively, looking more for the damage than anything else, or looking for the fight to push out off of the Phoenix and then have his team wade in the heal.
It was a good idea, forcing out the Thor ulti early on in this exchange. Going to make the siege so much easier moving forward right now. And so leftovers going to think about figuring out the right angle and timing for this right side Phoenix siege is going to be very important and careful because your Bacchus isn't that tanky right now, more on the damage oriented. So right now they're waiting for Panthera to just overstep just a little bit and then have the Bacchus initiate.
Yeah, Nika's really the tanky one on this team. We even see Jungler. He built into the Void Shield, but everything else very aggressive. The Titan's Bane, the Deathbringer, and the Jotun's Wrath. So the real tank on this squad is going to be Nika on the Osiris. Badgah playing more of the solo warrior position, I would say.
On the same time, Leftovers is waiting for the left-hand side for the fire waves to sort of push itself out currently as that left side Phoenix is responding. So a little bit of a very patient game is Leftovers that they're playing.
So we want to see Leftovers engage once those minions push up just a little bit, biding their time, waiting. Panthera trying to play defense, but nothing to defend against. We said Leftovers being patient. Panthera not. We're going to see the engagement coming out from the red squad. There's the ultimate out of jungler, and they're going to have to fight now. Two separate engagements going on as Panthera on the backside get eliminated, and they're going to fight into the ultimate and the wall from iRaffer. There's the hit from Dimi, going to take out jungler from afar, but a big intoxicate from Badgah is going to sway the tides of battle. Up in the air is adapting. Sanctuary to get rid of Cherryo's damage. Great play from Panthera's side, but the damage is done. The push is out. And despite jungler falling, the Phoenix does as well, and that's exactly what Leftovers were looking for.
They do find a more efficient objective. Despite losing one member, they find the right side Phoenix adapting, was forced to ulti to make sure he defended the left side as there was two fire waves that were about to enter that Phoenix. So beautiful mindset from Panthera. They're still thinking about all the objectives. They're still focused right now in the game despite their picks throughout.
Rough stuff coming out for the guys on Panthera today. They've shortened the lead a little bit. Leftovers were leading by about 10 grand straight up. Now they're just leading by 8. So Panthera doing what they can.
And right now with that right side Phoenix being down and one member still dead for Leftovers, Panthera thinking about being aggressive here.
And there's the ultimate out of Yammyn on the Amaterasu. There's the tremors coming out from iRaffer as you hear Thor land on the backside looking for a separate target, but Nika takes out Dimi instead. Cherryo's got the Sanctuary working, and it's going to be good enough to turn around on emilitoo. Same thing going on in the mid lane. Yammyn bounced, Yammyn dead. Badgah, Badgie, the young support finds the kill.
And Firejohn is still on the members of Leftovers, adapting, looking for a 1v1 against jungler. Gonna find it as well. Aussie gonna help him out sustain throughout that little boxing match.
No, not going to be fine. You know, one of the harder things about this role swap is actually just calling it. The play-by-play becomes very complicated because I'm so used to seeing these players in their positions as not emilitoo. It's adapting. It's aggressed on Biofuse and Cobb. The Titan's going to be attacked here, folks. This one is going the way of Leftovers. Panthera drop a game to LFTO.
So far, another game dropped by Panthera. First against Cringe Crew. Then it was against Hungry for More, Paradigm, and now Leftovers.
Yep. Different story here, though, I think, as the team employed some role swaps, tried some things a little bit different. Didn't pan out, obviously. They had a 10,000 deficit most of the game. It was a little tough for the boys out in Panthera to fight into. But Leftovers took it to the bank.
They did. They took full advantage. They still played very well, both of them mechanically. Despite the awkward role swaps coming out of Panthera, Leftovers still played seriously. Despite throughout the whole game, Panthera still looked for the objective plays. They knew where they needed to be and tried to execute that play. Unfortunately for them, Leftovers were just a little bit too much for them.
Yeah, these guys played lights out. That